Hi, and thank you for watching Malta Dynamics. You know, whenever we get a chance to speak with a safety professional, we try to ask them questions that you will find useful as the viewer. I had a chance to speak with a top of his class safety professional with a lot of experience and a lot to offer, and I asked him some very interesting questions. I want you to enjoy this next clip, and hopefully you'll learn something. Hi, I'm Ken Hebert, the National Sales Manager for Malta Dynamics, and with me today is Gary O'Brien, and Gary owns O'Brien Safety Services.
Yes, sir.
And also you have another company,
O'Brien's Confined Space Rescue Services.
Okay, very good. So our audience knows O'Brien Safety Services facilitates safety and personnel to be on watch and ready for rescue when facilities are involved in maintenance or turnarounds or different operations.
Correct. Any highly hazardous jobs where they feel there's a need or that the OSHA regulation calls out that they need to have a standby rescue team on site. And the safety services part also does any training under OSHA, EPA. We can come in and do a safety audit, but I prefer to call them a safety review because it's a lot more palatable. If I come to you and say, hey, I'm going to do an audit, it kind of makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. If I say I want to do a safety review, it goes down a little bit easier and so forth. So we can take care of any company and make sure that they are in compliance with all the federal, local, or state laws.
Who makes your perfect customer?
Perfect customer is somebody who's willing to invest in their employees and understand that by investing in their employees, because really the greatest asset of any company is their employees. Because without them, what do you have? You don't have anything. And if they invest in their employees, and more than just safety, I'm talking about morale, all that good stuff, they will have a consistent product and a consistent workforce at all times. Their sick leave will be less, their off injury time, which should be almost minimal, will be much less, and it's a moneymaker for them. In fact, I believe OSHA did a study that said for every $1 put into safety, there's a $6 return.
Do you believe that the companies around this market, and I know you travel pretty far to go help customers and companies, but does this market, in your opinion, have a good, robust safety culture?
I think we have a mixed bag of tricks. We have a whole lot of small companies and it's just not in their budget, and they really struggle, and they have more of a check the box mentality. Yep, we got that done, we did the minimum. But then I have other companies which are larger, and such as chemical plants and things like that, that they go all out and they do the right thing for their employees, and they make sure that they're safe when they're working and they're rewarded for their safe work practices, and that they know it's a condition of employment. If you can't work safe, you can't work here. So everybody does it.
It makes sense. When you approach servicing a customer and working relationships, and the working relationship can be very detailed and very complex. I understand what it's like when you're dealing with a big company that's got a budget. How do you handle differently a company that doesn't, and maybe a little tighter and buttoned up when it comes to safety?
You know, what we do is I like to do two things. One is get an overview of the employer of how do you think your current safety structure is and how you're working with safety. And then I like to go out in the field and see how the guys are actually working. Oftentimes I see two different views. They don't really care and we're going to get the work done. But the employer thinks that the employees out on the job are always out there trying to work safely. But they take shortcuts because they're afraid of spending a little extra money or some extra time to do the job right. And so what I basically do is find a way to bring the employer into that and say, look, here's where I found your 5 most largest hit for an injury or an illness. And we start working on those. And we get the big ticket items out of the way pretty quick. And then we just start shaving off the rest. But I try to figure out which ones I think they have the greatest probability of having an accident with first.
Have you ever had to call out the unsafe behavior of a specific employee that made you uncomfortable?
Yes.
What's that like?
Well, if I see someone in imminent danger or causing imminent danger to someone else, I immediately put a stop to it. And they may not even know who I am. But I try to approach it with a handshake and a smile, get everybody to come down so we are at a zero energy state, if you will, and say, hey, look, let me tell you what I just saw, and let me tell you what I think might happen. And we really have to change the way we're doing stuff, and I was sent here today by your employer not to see this, I just happened to see it, and I'm afraid by the time I get back to my office, somebody might really be hurt, and I can prevent this. So how about if we all work together and figure out a way we can do this right? I think the best tool any safety guy has is a handshake and a cup of coffee or a Coke. Because if you just want to come out and be a butthead and say, because I told you to, you'll never get buy-in. They'll go back to doing it the same way they did the minute you get in your car and you leave. And I believe if I can get you to buy into safety and explain it in a nice way, then I think 95% of the people will respond to that.
How critical to your success as a service provider is buy-in from the administration or the leadership of the company?
100%. If they want to say one thing in a meeting, but they demonstrate something else out in the field, then what's the point in having me there? We're never going to get there. We have to have 100% participation from the top all the way down to the bottom, and people have to understand what it's going to take to get there. I don't expect it to change overnight, but you always have to change the culture of a company if it needs to be changed so that everybody's marching on the same line.
What is the first thing that you do when you realize that someone has to be rescued?
Well, let's go back a couple steps, all right?
Okay.
The number one thing is if we get a call to come out on a job, we are going to do everything possible to make sure we never have to do a rescue. We're going to manage that confined space, permit required confined space, so that the chances of somebody getting hurt are minimal. We're going to make sure it's done by the book and everyone's accounted for within that space. But when we hear that there is an issue, then the first thing we think about is how do we prevent anybody else from being a victim, including ourselves? So scene safety. We're going to overview the scene. We're going to make sure we have the right protective equipment on. And then we will go in and bring the victim out and start medical treatment inside the hole. If it's going to be a little bit of time to get them out, we'll already start the medical treatment of that person and bring them out.
It's an interesting story, but a fun one. When we started our company in 2015, I made several calls to trainers, safety trainers, and I usually start when I'm canvassing an area with first responders. It's a good place to go to find out who the best trainer is. And I'll tell our audience the story. I call about 14 or 15 firefighters from different volunteer fire departments around this area near Marietta, and they all use one name, Gary O'Brien. That's the guy we use.
Great name.
So, and that's how we met, and you've been a strategic partner with us since the very, very beginning. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. It's been a great partnership. I enjoy it very much, and I think we work very well together.